05's attention. It's wild to think about building something up, like a whole empire, just to find out the ground you built it on was totally fake. 510's authority. Hey, I'm your host. I've spent years really digging into those stories that nobody seems to notice, the big scandals that are right there in front of our faces. And man, this one, it's a doozy. 10:15's agenda. So over the next half hour, get ready to see a partnership totally blow up, a fortune just disappear, and a family ripped to shreds by a betrayal so wild you'd swear it was pulled from a movie script. 15:30's pseudonym disclaimer. 30:45's. Amanda, it all started with a promise, a promise of a future for us and for our kids. Mark and I, we were really building something together. Something huge. Amanda, we actually called it Erectile Euphoria. Kinda sounds funny now, right? But it was our real deal. It was how we made our living. It was the dream we had. We were selling this oil for male enhancement. Amanda VO, we put absolutely everything into it. Every late night, every early morning. We were a total team, and the market, oh, it was just begging for it. The money just started rolling in. We're talking millions. Amanda VO, he'd look at me, his eyes just burning with ambition, and say, "This is it, Mandy. This is for them, for the kids. We're giving them a life where they won't have to stress about anything." Amanda, but then things started to shift, little things at first. He got really secretive. The way he was handling the money, it just felt wrong. I'd try to ask about it and he'd just wave it off. "It's just business, Mandy. You don't need to worry your pretty little head about it." Amanda, the business was absolutely killing it, but I felt like I was being pushed out. Like I was being shut out of my own life, shut out of the future we were supposed to have together, and then I found it. Amanda, it wasn't just about the money, it was everything, the trust we had. All those years we spent building this thing together, he was just taking it, every last bit of it. Amanda, he was stealing from us, from me, from our kids. Amanda, the sheer size of it. It was just unbelievable. He hadn't just taken a little bit here and there, he had systematically cleaned out the accounts. Moved the money into accounts overseas. Set up fake companies, all while he was telling me we were building this amazing legacy. Amanda VO, I confronted him, of course I did, and his reaction, it wasn't surprise. He didn't try to deny it. It was like he had planned for it. He didn't say sorry, he didn't try to explain anything, he just admitted it. Mark VO, calm, chilling. "It's business, Amanda, you wouldn't get it." Amanda, "Get what, Mark?" "That you've ruined us. That you've been lying to me for years." Mark VO, "I've made sure our future is secure, my future." Amanda, "This wasn't just some financial crime. This was a betrayal on the deepest level possible, a betrayal of our marriage, of our family, and of the whole idea of us being a team." He had basically built this fancy life for himself by ripping off the very people he swore he'd protect. Amanda, the children, they were so little. They thought their dad was this amazing hero, the guy who provided everything. So how do you even begin to explain to them that their hero was actually a thief? That the man who promised them the world had actually taken it all away? Amanda, the business itself, Erectile Euphoria, was built on claims that were honestly pretty questionable at best. We were basically selling hope in a bottle, and the rules for products like that are, well, they're really complicated. The Federal Trade Commission has some pretty strict rules about making health claims. Amanda, and the FDA, they play a really important role in making sure products like ours are on the up and up. Whether Erectile Euphoria oil actually needed special approval, or if there were rules about how it had to be labeled, that's a question that became huge after all this went down. Amanda, the actual court documents lay out this really bleak picture of the alleged scam. The papers talk about broken contracts and the business falling apart, spelling out all the supposed tricks that led to the company's collapse. Amanda, Mark's defense, or the fact that he didn't really have one, just made things messier. He first said he didn't know anything, then he tried to blame other people. But the proof, as it's laid out in these detailed filings, really points to him doing this on purpose, in a really calculated way. Amanda, the sheer nerve of it all, selling something meant to make guys feel more confident while at the same time totally destroying his own family's financial security. It's this messed up irony that's just hard to swallow. Amanda, he didn't just steal money, he stole our peace of mind. He stole the kids' innocence. He stole the future I honestly believed we were building together. Amanda VO, this wasn't just some business deal that went south. This was like a personal attack dressed up as financial games, a planned act of betrayal that just left a family completely broken. Amanda, the big question isn't really how he pulled it off, it's why. And what happens now, to him, to us, to the kids who are still trying to figure out why their whole world just fell apart? Amanda, this is really just the beginning. The story of Erectile Euphoria is definitely not over, and the truth is way more disturbing than anyone could have possibly imagined. So this product, right, it was supposed to be this miracle fix for guys feeling less than adequate, like some kind of fountain of youth, but specifically for their, you know. They marketed it as penis oil, promising to bring back lost vigor, pump up confidence, and reignite that spark in the bedroom. But let me tell you, behind all the fancy packaging and the super smooth advertising, something way darker was brewing. It was a total betrayal, woven right into the very trust and ambition they supposedly shared. You can hear it in Amanda's voice, can't you? It used to be so full of hope, but now it's just heavy with disappointment. She talks about the beginning, how much she really believed in Mark's big ideas and in the product itself. It was all about pretending, she says, her eyes kind of looking past you, and I bought into his whole act too. This wasn't just about some oil, it was about selling a fantasy, a desperate hope pushed onto people who were already feeling vulnerable. And the claims? They were huge, almost unbelievable. Folks were told this oil could completely change their lives, make them feel young again, and fix all their intimate problems. The whole marketing plan was basically built on a shaky foundation of over-the-top health claims. Now the FTC has some pretty strict rules against misleading health claims, especially for stuff like male enhancement oils. But Mark, he seemed to just dance around the edges, pushing the limits with promises that just never held up. Source: FTC regulations on health claims. These kinds of oils, they're often not really regulated and don't have solid scientific proof behind them. They tend to target people's insecurities, offering a quick fix when there might be deeper issues going on. And the FDA? Well, their stance on these products is kind of a gray area, meaning there wasn't much oversight, allowing all sorts of unchecked claims to spread like wildfire. Source: FDA regulations on health products. But here's the real kicker, the true betrayal. It wasn't just that the product probably didn't work as advertised. No, the real problem was the systematic financial deception that was the backbone of the whole operation. If you look at the official court documents, which are super detailed, they paint a really grim picture of financial wrongdoing. These filings lay out accusations of breaking contracts, outright fraud, and the messy dissolution of the business, basically exposing Mark's alleged shady dealings. Source: court records. As Amanda started digging into the financial records, the proof just became impossible to ignore. Bank statements, which should have been symbols of their shared success, now showed this disturbing pattern of secret transactions. He was secretly moving money into offshore accounts, Amanda explains, her voice actually shaking a little, while telling me we were barely scraping by. He'd act like we were short on cash, saying we needed to cut back, all while he was secretly taking money out. The financial statements really highlighted huge amounts of cash moving through accounts overseas or into businesses that weren't even officially part of what the company was doing. These weren't just little accounting errors, they were deliberate attempts to hide what was happening. The money that was supposed to go towards developing the product, advertising, or even just supporting their family was being systematically rerouted for Mark's own hidden agenda. The whole story about them struggling financially, it was a total act, a carefully crafted illusion. While Amanda and probably others involved thought they were in a tough spot financially, Mark was apparently building his own secret fortune. This wasn't just about playing games with numbers, it was a deep violation of the trust in their relationship and their business partnership. The business, which was supposed to be something they built together, was being drained from the inside, its resources taken by the very person who was supposed to be protecting it. And to add another layer to this whole mess, we've got testimony from someone who used to work with them. This person, who wants to stay anonymous because they're worried about retaliation, saw the financial irregularities firsthand. They noticed the warning signs in the finances, the weird transactions, and the marketing that was getting more and more desperate. I saw the red flags, the former associate admits, their voice low, but she was blinded by love, or maybe just his charm, I don't know. This insider's account totally backs up what Amanda was starting to suspect. The associate remembers trying to talk to Mark about their concerns, but he just brushed them off or even threatened them. In some cases, employees who dared to question the financial practices were either silenced or fired, all to keep up the appearance that everything was on the up and up. Mark was in complete control, and anyone who challenged him or his methods was quickly shut down. It created this atmosphere of fear and obedience where loyalty was rewarded but speaking up got you punished. What the associate is saying is really important. It gives us an outside perspective, confirming the internal struggle Amanda was going through. It suggests that Mark wasn't just making a mistake with the finances, it was a planned and ongoing effort to defraud people. The associate's attempts to warn Amanda, even though they didn't change her mind at the time, really show how much power Mark had and how isolated Amanda might have felt. Her trust in him, built up over years, acted like a shield against the truth, a shield Mark worked hard to keep strong with lies and manipulation. You start to see just how big this alleged fraud really is when you look at more of the financial documents. It's not just about him moving money around, there are hints of really complicated financial tricks designed to hide what was actually happening with the money. This could mean setting up fake companies, changing the dates on invoices, or intentionally lying about how much money they were making. If this is proven, it's way more than just simple stealing, it's sophisticated financial fraud. The goal wasn't just to grab the money, it was to make sure nobody knew he was taking it. And the penis oil itself, it ends up being a symbol of all this deception. It was the thing that generated the money, sure, but its promises of actually working were probably just as empty as Mark's promises about being honest with the finances. The rules for these kinds of products are often confusing, which makes it easier for shady people to get away with things for a while. Source: FDA regulations on health products, but once the financial deception came to light, it clearly showed deliberate wrongdoing. Amanda's story, going from a believer to a betrayed victim, is honestly heartbreaking. She talks about how much it affected her emotionally, how completely fooled she felt. All the promises of a successful business, a good future together, and a loving partnership, they all just shattered because of what Mark allegedly did. The financial proof is stark, but the emotional wounds go way deeper. This betrayal hits right at the core of their shared life, leaving behind a mess of broken trust and dashed dreams. The specific accusations made in the court filings give us a really detailed look at the alleged misconduct. These detailed documents spell out exactly what the person suing is accusing Mark of, pointing out specific instances of fraud and breaking contracts. Source: court records. They basically serve as the legal roadmap to understanding just how extensive Mark's alleged financial misdeeds were and why legal action was taken against him. These papers aren't just random accusations, they're formal legal claims backed by evidence presented to the court. The whole story about the business being in trouble, it was a brilliant piece of deception. While Amanda was being fed this line about money problems, Mark was allegedly building his own personal fortune, keeping it totally hidden. This kind of tactic is super common in fraud schemes. The scammer creates a fake story to explain away any weird money stuff or to justify their own secretive actions. So when he talked about cutting back, it wasn't about shared sacrifice, it was a smokescreen for his own illegal gains. The fact that the associate tried to warn Amanda even though it didn't work at the time really shows that maybe things could have been different if someone had stepped in earlier. If Amanda had been able to see the signs, or if Mark hadn't been so controlling, maybe the damage wouldn't have been so bad. But the way their relationship worked, combined with Mark's manipulative tactics, created a situation where warnings were easily ignored or shut down. It really highlights the psychological side of these scams where emotional control is used to keep people in line. The penis oil itself, even though it was the product everyone saw, kind of becomes less important than the financial schemes. The real product Mark was selling was an illusion of success, an illusion of being partners, and an illusion of honesty. The customers buying the oil were, in a way, paying for the very deception that would end up ruining Amanda. It's a really twisted irony that the product meant to boost virility was being made and sold by a guy whose integrity was, by all accounts, seriously lacking. As we wrap this up, the big questions aren't just about how this all went down, but what the consequences are going to be. The financial proof is damning, the testimony backs it up, and the legal filings lay out the alleged crimes in brutal detail. Amanda's story is a serious warning about the dangers of trusting blindly and the incredibly destructive impact of financial betrayal, especially when it's disguised as love and partnership. That illusion has completely shattered, revealing a deeply disturbing reality underneath. Alright, let's retool this courtroom scene, yeah? Make it sound less like a robot wrote it and more like actual people. Here we go. So the courtroom, it's bare just functional, you can practically taste the accusations floating in the air. Amanda, she's sitting there looking all put together, but man, her eyes, they're screaming exhaustion. Mark, on the other hand, he's looking like a trapped animal, that usual swagger totally gone, replaced by this really shaky, defensive vibe. The questioning kicks off. It's sharp, it doesn't let up. Every single question is like another brick being carefully placed, building this wall of undeniable facts. The lawyer for the plaintiff, they're pacing, their voice steady but firm, just laying out the money mess, where the funds went missing, all these phantom companies. We zoom in on a document, maybe it's a record of money being wired, or a statement from some offshore bank account. Mr. Thompson, the attorney's voice slices through the quiet, can you shed some light on these transfers? This money left the company account and landed in your personal stash like right before the business tanked. The proof is right there, stark naked. Source: Maryland courts detailed filings outlining the specific claims of breach of contract, fraud, and business dissolution from the plaintiff against the defendant, including any counterclaims. These aren't just whispers, they're concrete facts laid out with incredible detail. Mark, he's fidgeting in his seat. He's been in hot water before, sure, maybe smaller stuff, but never ever under this kind of spotlight. Mark's whole defense strategy, it's basically a masterclass in dodging. He's trying hard to play the victim like he was just some innocent businessman caught in a market storm. He's mumbling about unexpected costs, about partners who dropped the ball. And that oil, his miracle penis oil, suddenly it's a product drowning in supply chain nightmares or so-called competitors who stole his genius formula. We could flash back to Mark maybe years back, totally oozing confidence, pitching that product with a real spark in his eyes. That spark, it's gone now, replaced by this desperate, frantic search for any way out. And Miss Davies, he might try, his voice doing this strained thing, trying to sound reasonable, she wasn't exactly a beacon of financial clarity either. There were, let's call them creative accounting methods she used. He's totally trying to point the finger elsewhere to make things murky, to make Amanda look just as guilty. A low, sort of disgusted buzz goes through the people watching in the gallery. It's pretty clear his attempt to rewrite what happened isn't working. Amanda's eyes stay locked on Mark. It's not anger she's showing now, it's this deep, deep sadness. The money, the business, all of it just fades away. This moment is about something way more important, you know. She stands up. She's not talking to the judge, not yet. She's talking right to Mark. Her voice, it's quiet, but man, it carries so much weight. Mark, she starts, and just using his first name, no titles, nothing fancy, it hits him right where it hurts. We're not just talking about money here, not really. We get a close-up on their faces, and you can see this huge gap opening up between them. You stood right here and you promised me everything. You promised our kids a stable life, and I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Her voice trembles a bit, not from being weak, but from the sheer pain of being completely double-crossed. This wasn't just some business deal that went south. This was our actual life. A quick, really touching shot of their kids, totally innocent, having no clue about the chaos hitting their family. You didn't just screw me over, Mark. You betrayed the family we built. Those words just hang there, a brutal condemnation of everything he's done. This isn't about going broke, it's about trust being completely shattered, the very foundation everything was built on. She wasn't just a business partner, she was the mother of his children, the woman who had his back. Source: FTC regulations on health claims. This whole situation, his products claims, the business built on those shaky foundations, it's all part of this bigger deception. The judge, this picture of calm authority, is watching all of this go down. The legal stuff laid out the money schemes, the alleged fraud. But Amanda's words, they just put the human cost front and center, real and raw. The word betrayal flashes on screen, big, bold, and unforgiving. Then, the judge offers a preliminary take. The evidence piled up against Mark, it's seriously significant. Those filings detail accusations of breaking contracts and outright fraud, painting a picture of a guy who systematically helped himself to company funds. Source: Maryland courts detailed filings outlining the specific claims of breach of contract, fraud, and business dissolution from the plaintiff against the defendant, including any counterclaims. He brings up the product itself, that male enhancement oil, and the potential regulatory headaches it could cause. Were the promises about how well it worked actually true, or was that just another part of the whole con? Source: FDA regulations on health products. Whether the product was even legit from a regulatory standpoint or not could be another piece of the fraud puzzle. Were they peddling something real, or something totally untested and possibly dangerous just to keep the scam going? Source: FTC regulations on health claims. And then you've got the FTC looking at health claims for stuff like this, adding yet another layer of potential wrongdoing. The judge might even hint at the bigger picture here. If criminal charges are even on the table, then the Justice Department's resources for helping victims would definitely come into play. Source: DOJ victim witness assistance if criminal fraud involved. This really underscores how serious this whole thing is, suggesting it's way more than just a civil disagreement. The whole room feels heavy. Mark's defense has basically imploded, crushed by the sheer weight of the evidence and Amanda's emotional bombshell. That whole act he put on, it's in a million pieces now. Mark's looking down at the floor, he can't even face Amanda. The crushing weight of his betrayal now out in the open for everyone to see is just heavy. This feels like the peak, the point where there's absolutely no turning back. The scam, the betrayal, it's all out in the blazing sunlight. Absolutely. Here's that section, all humanized and ready to roll. So picture this, Amanda's sitting in a room just bathed in sunlight. She's looking right at you, the camera and her face. It's thoughtful, yeah, but definitely not defeated. Amanda starts talking, her voice super steady. Moving forward, it's really about putting things back together. And it's not just about the money, though, that's part of the puzzle. It's more about healing, for me and most importantly, for my kids. She takes a little breath and you can see a flash of emotion cross her face. The money, it helps for sure. It can ease up some of the immediate burdens, the day-to-day stuff, but real healing, the kind that sticks around, that's about getting that trust back, finding some peace. That's worth way more than any dollar amount. Rebuilding trust, now we cut over to Amanda's lawyer. He looks sharp, totally composed, probably in his office. Her lawyer jumps in explaining, this whole situation really hammers home a super important point. You gotta be watchful always, especially when your personal life gets tangled up with business stuff. Amanda learned that the hard way, unfortunately. He makes a little gesture, thinking, working with people, even if it's family or someone you love, you absolutely need clear lines and total honesty. When those lines get fuzzy and someone breaks that trust, the fallout can be absolutely brutal. He really stresses how crucial it is to do your homework, even with people you think you know inside and out. Source: court records. Then bam, a quick mix of pictures flashes by. A sweet family photo, a serious-looking court paper, and then a cool graphic that sort of shows trust all broken up. The narrator's voice comes back in, it's serious but has a strength to it. Mixing love with business, that's a seriously tricky path to walk. When money grubbing creeps in, it can totally wreck the bedrock of a family, leaving behind a mess of broken trust and just gut-wrenching loss. Amanda's story and what happened to her kids, it's like a big flashing warning sign about how fast money dreams can turn sour and lead to betrayal, messing up innocent lives something fierce. Source: FTC regulations on health claims. All those legal fights, they really show just how complicated it gets when business falls apart and fraud comes up, especially when personal relationships are already fractured. Source: court records. We see Amanda again, this time walking with her children. There's a quiet strength in her step. It's a tough pill to swallow, the narrator keeps going, but sometimes the biggest dangers actually come from the people we're closest to. But even after going through something like that betrayal, you can still find your strength. The road ahead is almost never easy, but it is possible to keep going. A graphic pops up on the screen. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? The music picks up just a bit, starting to sound hopeful, but you can still feel that sense of deep thought underneath it. The narrator asks you, the viewer, straight up, ever felt like someone you trusted totally played you? How did you handle picking up the pieces afterward? Tell us what you went through and what you learned down in the comments. Let's all learn from each other and build a place where we can support one another. The very last shot is of Amanda. She's got this hopeful smile now, looking off towards the distance. The camera just slowly glides backward, pulling away.